Jai Hind, friends. As we all know that we were in a discussion with Sri Abhijit Roy about the detail of the Great Escape by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and today we are starting our discussion, the part three of our discussion with Abhijit Uncle. And on the last discussion, we ended when Netaji had to resign from the post of President of National Congress, and afterward he was expelled from the Congress, and there was no option left for him to continue the struggle of freedom from the outside of the nation, and so he started the planning for the Great Escape. So today we will start from here, and I will request Abhijit Mishra to continue our discussion on this.
Before I go to the next episode, Anushua, as we had discussed in our last episode, I would like to ask you if there is any questions from my last episodes from the viewers so that I can answer. Could you find any questions in the last episode?
Not any, I mean, not anything such,
Okay,
prominent
okay,
question was there.
okay. Uh, anyway, I think people are much aware, and up to the last episode, up to the expulsion of the Congress, uh, people know about it now. Although there are certain Congress hardcore supporters who always say that he resigned from Congress, and that's absolutely a lie they are saying as part of history is concerned. Now, you see, this expulsion actually was due to the fact that there was a total non-cooperation from the Congress leaders, particularly the leaders of the working committee, and particularly the followers of Gandhiji within the Congress, which had isolated Subhash Chandra Bose in the Congress. Now, these Congress leaders were not ready or agreeable to serve the British Army any sort of ultimatum, which was taken in Jalpaiguri and forwarded to the Central Working Committee. As they thought, I repeat the word, that nation is not yet ready to go all out, to go in an all-out war against the British. Actually, the thing was, what I think now is it is the historians to say that instead many of them propose that if at all the war breaks out, or if there is a possibility, it is better for the Congress to help the British in the war, on the other way around, which Netaji proposed, so that after the war, the British may favor us, and may favor India with a dominion status or independence. That
Which
means,
actually we expected during First World War also,
yeah,
and the
that
and
means
the result was
they
Jallianwala
had
Bagh.
not, exactly, they had not learned anything
Yes,
from the experience the Indians had from the First World War. What was the resultant factor? The Jallianwala Bagh massacre. But, you know, they had a soft corner, the right wing of the Congress, and the pseudo-leftists present in the Congress, they had a soft corner, and they never wanted to go all out in war against the British at that time. So therefore, after being expelled from Congress, Subhash Chandra Bose had no other alternative, and he officially formed Forward Bloc as a political party. He opened it. As a full-fledged political party, Forward Bloc came to the fore, and he started touring the country to spread the news. And I'll read out the news. The message of no compromise with the British, and to take advantage of the ensuing war in order to drive out the British from India. he wanted no compromise. He was telling, issuing this message to the countrymen that we should not help in any way the British in the war, and we should take the advantage of the war and demand for a total or complete freedom. Subhash Chandra Bose, at the same time, he tried to establish contacts with those countries who were at that particular time against the British Empire. And they were either at war or about to be at war against the British Empire. These, these countries, he tried to contact them. Now, these contacts with countries like Germany, Italy, and Japan, it was established uh, in a very, very, what do you call, in a very, very nice process, or very calculated process rather, through some reliable comrades of his own and a few reliable courier services. Now, these courier services were very secret courier services where the messages used to go to these countries or the consulates of these countries, and they tried to contact, try to create, uh, try to contact them or establish the contacts with them. Also, according to the uh, wishes of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, their preparations were on to contact the Soviet Union. Because, Netaji always wanted to go to the Soviet Union, as he was himself a leftist, and he wanted his movement, his armed struggle against the British Empire to be done in a way so that the British forces are driven out of India and the complete freedom is achieved. And he had always uh, had a soft corner about Soviet Union. So the contact, there was also an attempt to keep contact with the Soviet Union. Now, these contacts were done, as I said, under topmost secrecy and through some very reliable couplets. But you see, due to some customary mistake, the activities of these courier services were detected by the British intelligence, unfortunately, because British intelligence at that time was one of the shrewdest intelligence branches, MI, Scotland Yard, and they had a very good network all over the world. As these courier service were leaked out, the British intelligence and the police started a vigilance, not only against Subhash Chandra Bose, but against some reliable followers of Subhash Chandra Bose, as well as a few family members of Subhash Chandra Bose. Family members, of course, his brother was there, Sarat Chandra Bose, and amongst the nephews, it was Dhiren Bose, son of Sri Satish Chandra Bose, the eldest brother, Vijendranath Bose, another son of Satish Chandra, and Aurobindo Bose, son of Suresh Chandra Bose. Why? I will come just in a minute. Now, these family members were also in contact outside, particularly with the Japanese deputy consulate, which was in Calcutta at that time. In 1940, Japan's deputy foreign minister, Mr. Ohasi, had come down to Calcutta. The Japanese vice consulate, Mr. Kageyama, who was in touch with certain nephews of Subhash Chandra Bose, he informed Mr. Dhiren Bose or Dhirendranath Bose, the eldest son of Sri Satish Chandra Bose, about the arrival of Mr. Oasi. When Netaji got this news of the arrival of Mr. Oasi in Calcutta, he immediately sent Dhiren Bose and Dijendranath Bose to contact uh, one person whose name we all know today. That person was Sri Snehangshu Acharya. Now, Snehangshu Acharya had very recently come back from England after being admitted to the bar. And Snehangshu Acharya, many know, he was a very good friend of Omionath Bose, the second son of Sarat Chandra Bose. And in that respect, Snehangshu Acharya was very close to the Bose family and also close to Sarat Bose and Subhash Chandra Bose. Now, Subhash, actually at that time, Omionath Bose was still in London and he was studying. Snehangshu had come back. Snehangshu Acharya, when he came back, he had hired an office, he had hired a house at Swino Street, Calcutta. Later on, he built his house in Alipur, but at that time, he had just come back and he had hired a house at Swino Street, Calcutta. Dijendranath Bose, along with Dhirendranath Bose, they were sent to Snehangshu Acharya by Netaji with the request to permit him for a very secret meeting, very, very secret meeting, along with, sorry, just a minute, a secret meeting with somebody, a very special person. So they requested Snehangshu Acharya to make arrangements for tea and snacks. And after doing so, they also requested Snehangshu Acharya and the rest of the members, including the servants staying in the family, to go out. He said, he sent a message to Snehangshu Acharya, give your servants a holiday for a few hours so that there is no eyewitnesses and you also go out. You arrange for the tea and snacks. And Netaji, Subhash Chandra Bose, or their dear Ranga Kaka Babu or Uncle Subhash will be having a closed door meeting with somebody very special. Snehangshu Acharya readily agreed and he made the arrangements accordingly. And Subhash Chandra Bose had a very secret meeting with Mr. Oasi at that particular house of Swino Street, with Dhirendranath Bose and Dijendranath Bose guarding the house so nobody could enter from outside. Now, we do not know the detailed discussion which Netaji had with Mr. Oasi in that meeting. But one thing was sure, that this was the first meeting of Subhash Chandra Bose with any Japanese diplomat, number one. And also that Japan was preparing for a war against the Anglo-American power, that was proved with that meeting. These two things were proved. Now also, Subhash Chandra Bose as an alternative, because in Japan already Rash Bihari Bose was there. Okay, and there was a process going on to form an Indian National Army. So Subhash Chandra Bose had a meeting with uh, Mr. Owaisi, hoping that Rajbihari Bose will support him because Rajbihari Bose, as you know, had written a letter
Yes.
to Netaji after he was elected the president of Indian National Congress. That letter, of course, never reached Netaji
Hmm.
because that was opened by the British intelligence and they kept it there. It was later found in the archives, British archives, London archives. Anyway, that's some other point. So he knew that he would get support from Sri Rajbihari Bose also. Now the planning had started for a secret journey to Europe. Subhash Chandra Bose, at first, he decided to travel to Soviet Russia. And to undertake this journey, Subhash Chandra made contacts with Sardar Niranjan Singh Talib. Now, Talib ji was a member of the Forward Bloc and he was a leader of the Punjabi Biradri in Calcutta. He had a great influence in the Gurdwaras also and the Punjabi community at that time in Calcutta. Now, through Talib ji, contacts were established, firstly with the chairman of the Shiromani Gurdwara Committee in Calcutta and the leader of the Punjab Akali Dal, Master Tara Singh, and also with Sardar Baldev Singh. And in between them, the discussion was going on, the secret meetings were going on, where Subhash Chandra Bose held the meetings and had consultations in order to make a trip to Russia very secretly. But luck would not favor once again. Unfortunately, in a meeting of Sardar Baldev Singh with the chief engineer of Calcutta Corporation, Mr. B.N. Dey. Now, Baldev Singh hinted about the above plan of Subhash Chandra Bose secretly going to Russia to Mr. Dey. Now, hearing about the plan, Mr. Dey immediately rushed to Subhash Chandra Bose and requested him to recommend his name, that is Mr. Dey's name, as the executive officer of Calcutta Corporation before going to Russia. Now, Subhash knew that something is wrong somewhere and the secret planning was leaked out. So he just told Mr. Devala, no. What you have heard is not true, it's just a rumor. And he sent him back. But actually, this vital leakage, as I told you, British intelligence was one of the best intelligence in the world at that time. This leakage somehow was known to the British intelligence.
Okay.
Several leaders of the Punjabi Biradri, like Achar Singh Chinna of Kirti Kisan Party,
Hmm.
Iqbal Singh Handal, Karam Singh Man, Sohan Singh Josh, etc., they were arrested. And by the arrest of these people and the other leaders going underground, like Talib ji and others, Master Tara Singh and all that, they are going underground. The first plan to escape to Russia had to be aborted. This particular failure once again taught Subhash not to involve too many people in the plan of Great Escape, which he later on advised to Major Shatranjan Bakshi and to Mia Akbar Shah, so that very few people knew about the Great Escape, which was the second attempt. Now, after the plan had to be cancelled, Subhash Chandra Bose had to think about other ways to realize his dream. First thing he planned was that he should arrange a local protest program. Why? Now, this local protest program had to be arranged in order to divert the attention of the British intelligence. Because the British intelligence was thinking that he wants to go to Russia, he wants to flee the country. So the surveillance had, had become more stricter. Okay, his family members, his very close associates were being followed 24 hours. So, in order to divert the attention of the British intelligence and the British police, the above plan was made just to be a little bit cautious. The British administration has become overcautious regarding Subhash Chandra Bose. So what he decided, he went to Dhaka in 1940 in a very special meeting. And after coming back from Dhaka, he went to Dhaka in the month of May 1940. After coming back from Dhaka, Subhash Chandra Bose actually planned for the removal of the Holwell Monument located at the northwest corner of Dalhousie Square in Calcutta. After returning from this political conference in Dhaka, Subhash Chandra gave this call for the removal of Holwell Monument. Now, what was this Holwell Monument? Actually, the British had falsely implicated a story that Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah had enlocked many British in a small cell forcibly, small room forcibly, which was termed as the Black Cell murder. The room which did not have any air and all that, and these British were murdered because they suffocated inside that room. It was actually a falsely propagated news in order to gain sympathy worldwide, to gain sympathy and hide the facts of how secretly they killed Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah and how they dealt with the Nawab's people. And Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah was killed very secretly in a condemned cell. He was not even, there was no sort of court justice done to him also. He was caught and he was put into prison and secretly killed by somebody whom nobody knew. So that was the main thing. So Subhash Chandra was called upon all the people of different religion, because this was a sentiment both to Hindus and the Muslims. And unitedly, the Hindu and Muslims, they responded to the call made by Subhash Chandra Bose, irrespective of the religion, to join en masse in this movement. Another point I would like to point out here is that that particular point, this sort of movement had put the then Bengal government, which was led by a Muslim League coalition government, that put them in a very embarrassing position. Why? Because if they do not support the Holwell Monument, the removal of Holwell Monument movement, the common mass will be going against them. And if they support the movement, the British government will go against them. So they were absolutely in a fix what to do. Anyway, the subject was itself very touchy, you know.
Yes.
The common people responded en masse, no doubt, but the British became overcautious once again because
Actually,
they
from
thought,
the very beginning of his career, he was a mass leader,
yeah, he was a
and
mass leader.
that was his real power.
Exactly, exactly. And he knew how to, how to motivate and mobilize the mass, irrespective of their caste, religion, and language. This,
And the people and the I mean and the mass also knew that the leader will be with them in
yeah,
ups and
e-
downs.
exactly. In up and down, it's not like that you call a satyagraha and and the police comes and arrests the leader and keeps the mass, um, I mean, at the mercy of the police. He
Absolutely.
was not a leader like that. He used to lead the processions himself. Okay, uh, he never wanted to enjoy the first
Leadership,
class,
first class
first class,
leadership.
first class prison provided to the other leaders
Yes,
by the British Empire. He never wanted that. He was actually a mass leader. He was an accepted mass leader. You're right, very right. So therefore, uh, British became overcautious, and before the announced date, the start of the movement of Satyagraha, Subhash Chandra Bose and many other revolutionary leaders, particularly the leaders of Forward Bloc, leaders of Bengal volunteers, and many other uh, revolutionary uh, associates of him, they were arrested on the 3rd of July, 1940. Before going to prison, Subhash gave a call to continue the protest movement to the second rank leadership of Forward Bloc, to the people who belong to the Bengal volunteers, second rank leadership, and also there was an organization already started at 38 by 2 Elgin Road under the leadership of Dijendranath Bose. Netaji had formed the All India Yuva Sangh or All India Youth League, whose main office was at 38 by 2 Elgin Road. And the job of these youth leaders under the leadership of Dijendranath Bose and also at the instruction of Netaji, Aurobindo Bose was also included in this league. So the two or three, Dhiren Bose was also there, but Dhiren Bose, his health never permitted him to go outside very much. He ultimately died of a cerebral attack, while these people were uh, in British imprisonment
yes,
after the Great Escape. I'll talk to that later on. Now, how British behaved with
family.
Dhirendranath. Now, in response to the call given by Subhash Chandra Bose, Forward Bloc, Bengal Volunteers, a group of the Rebel Congress, and All India Yuva Sangh, and other revolutionary organizations, they continued the protest and satyagraha for the removal or dismantling of Holwell Monument. Now, here, one thing should be noted: the call of a leader. He had gone to prison, but before going to prison, he had given the call for an all-out struggle in demand of the dismantling of the Holwell Monument, the removal of the Holwell Monument. And the common mass, they were absolutely on the toes, and they continued with the agitation or satyagraha. And it was so much satyagraha that the British were forced to dismantle the Holwell Monument. It was the greatest success of a mass movement in the city of Calcutta. Now, after removal of the Holwell Monument, the leaders who were involved in this movement and were imprisoned by the British were released from the prison. But British would not release Subhash Chandra Bose, because by that time British had stamped Subhash Chandra Bose as the enemy number one of the empire. And Subhash Chandra Bose and also another trusted comrade of his, Sri Narendra Narayan Chakravarti, they were kept in prison because the British could stamp out Subhash Chandra Bose as enemy number one, and Narendra Narayan Chakravarti was not released because the British suspected that Sri Chakravarti would act as a contact man of Subhash Chandra Bose if released at that particular time. And later, when Sri Narendra Narayan Chakravarti was released from after the escape, actually he met Dr. Ashoknath Bose,
Okay.
and he told Ashoknath that he's also written the book of Ashoknath, my uncle Netaji, that Netaji had instructed him that as soon as you are released from the prison, you have to go and meet some revolutionary leaders of Delhi and North India. And if necessary, you should also travel to Europe and Russia in order to contact the leaders of the Axis power, Germany, Italy in particular. So that is why British intelligence was very cunning. They knew that he was the main contact man. So Mr. Chakravarti, along with Subhash Chandra Bose, was not released. Now, while in British prison, Subhash Chandra was continuously trying to come out of the prison. Because number one, he wanted to explain his views to the countrymen that if India wanted to attain freedom, they should not cooperate with the British in the ensuing World War II, and India should combine with those forces who were against the British Empire. Now, these viewpoints, if I'll request the viewers to study this, particularly at the same time, he expressed his desire that the time has come for India to enter the international politics in order to impress upon the world about India's struggle for complete independence. And these views, particularly, he has also written in his book, The Indian Struggle, while sitting in Germany. I wanted, he said, he had told that I wanted during the 1940s to convey this to my country. And that is why he was not released by the British and kept in the prison. And he knew one thing also, that the British will not release him
During the
till the
war.
war is over. And that's why he was desperate to come out during the war, out of the British prison. Now, the All India Yuva Sangh, which I have told earlier, had taken an active part in the movement regarding the removal of the Holman Monument. At the instruction of Subhash Bose, Dijendranath had included Arvind Bose, I told you. Dhiren Bose was also there. So another elder brother of Subhash Chandra, Dr. Suresh Chandra Bose's son, Arvind Bose was there. Now, all these three, Dhirendranath, Dijendranath and Arvind Bose, they used to live in 38 by 2 Elgin Road residence. And this organization has also started a very important work. So this organization started printing leaflets, posters from, from very secret, what do you call, a press,
Yes.
which was probably in Behala. And from there, the leaflets used to come and they used to distribute the leaflets and stick the posters at night. Obviously, the British intelligence engaged their agents to follow the activities of Dhiren Bose, Dijendranath Bose, and Aurobindo Bose. These three members of the Bose family were under strict surveillance round the clock, along with Sarath Chandra Bose. So by this time, Sarath Chandra Bose has also come to the notice of the British intelligence agency. Now, after the meeting of Subhash Chandra Bose with Mr. Owasi at the residence of Snehanshu Acharya, Subhash Chandra instructed one of his close associates, Lala Shankar Lal, to proceed to Japan as his emissary, to hold talks with the officials of the Japanese government. So the contact with Japan was not in 43.
Exactly.
The contacts were from 1940. Now, Lala Shankar Lal, he had an insurance company in Delhi, named as the Tropical Insurance Company, of which he was the managing director and Subhash Chandra was the chairman of the said company. And at the instruction of Subhash Bose, Dijendranath was absorbed as an employee of the Tropical Insurance Company so that he can keep close contacts with Lala Shankar Lal. In 1940, actually, the same year, under the instruction of Subhash Chandra Bose, Lala Shankar Lal applied for a passport to go to Japan. Now, at that time, passports were made in Bombay only. Because, I don't know, but that was the rule at that time. Because Bombay was the center of the financial capital of India. Now, Lala Shankar Lal's father's name was Hiralal. And he belonged to the Agarwal clan or the Bansal clan of Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, and that particular site. So in the application of his passport, his name so that the people are puzzled and the person who knew Shankar Lal Gupta, Lala Shankar Lal, they would also not recognize him. But the passport needs a photograph. Now, Lala Shankar Lal had a cut mark on his forehead. Yeah. What Netaji advised him that while taking the photograph of the passport, you wear a hat, a felt hat, and take the photograph. So that by wearing a hat, that cut mark on the forehead
Will be
was
covered.
hidden. It was hidden. And at that particular time, Bombay province had a Congress ministry. And Sri A.K. Munshi was a minister of the provincial government over there in Mumbai, in Bombay. This A.K. Munshi also, he just simply could not recognize Lala Shankar Lal by seeing his new name and the photograph with a hat. So every paperwork regarding the preparation of the passport was smoothly done, and Lala Shankar Lal came back to Calcutta in around April-May 1940. Vijendranath, at the instruction of Subhash Chandra, because Subhash Chandra was already in prison, and July, he was staying here, but he didn't involve himself. He told Vijendranath, at the instruction of Subhash Chandra, to see off Lala Shankar Lal from Khidirpur port in a Japan-bound ship. So Lala Shankar Lal started his journey
Towards Japan.
towards Japan as an emissary of Subhash Chandra.
Here,
Now,
I would
before-
just like to mention that Rajbihari Bose not only wrote a letter to Subhash Chandra, he wrote a letter to Sachindranath Sanyal also at that time,
Exactly, yeah.
1938-39. And he
Yeah.
told him to support Subhash Babu by any means. The people of Congress is not giving him the,
Mhm.
platform to work, a favorable condition to work, and you all should support Subhash Babu. That was his instruction to Sachin Sanyal.
Exactly. Now, before the onset of Lala Shankar Lal's journey, look at the brain of this administrator, Subhash Chandra Bose. He was a very able administrator, and with his foresight and brain, you can make out this particular thing which I'm telling now. Now, Netaji made another plan another trick rather, to fool the British intelligence. How was it? Which would ensure or prove in the court of law that Lala Shankar Lal had not been to Japan at all. Because he knew that somehow or the other, British intelligence will come to know about Lala Shankar Lal's voyage to Japan. Because at that time in Japan also, there were too many British spies going on, wandering around in Japan also. And their main aim was to capture or imprison Rajbihari Bose. We know it very. So that risk could not be taken that, okay, Lala Shankar Lal has gone to Japan, I say he'll be safely coming back. No. Now, before going, Netaji made Lala Shankar Lal sign an undated affidavit in favor of some Pandit Shadiram. Right? Now, after receiving the news of Lala Shankar Lal's safe arrival in Japan, Netaji instructed Vijendranath to go and meet the honorary magistrate Sri Hemchandra Noshkar of Shialda Court and to utilize this affidavit in a legal way. Now, this sort of utilization is called alibi, ALIBI, where the lawyers can say much better. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just quoting from the references, And the affidavit requires the seal and the signature of the honorary court, along with the signature of the honorary magistrate. Okay. Now, Mr. Noshkar I mean, Hemchandra Noshkar, he hesitated because he, as per the law, he must sign on the affidavit at the presence of the person concerned who
Okay.
has made the affidavit. Dijendranath said that Lala Shankarlal is very sick. He is resting at 38 by 2 Elgin Road. Why don't you come with me? He is there in Netaji's, is Subhash Chandra Bose's room. He's sick. He's been attended by doctors and he's taking rest. Now, hearing the name of Subhash Chandra Bose, Mr. Hemchandra Noshkar did not hesitate and he signed it. And that affidavit became that alibi became official with the stamp of the uh, uh,
Magistrate.
stamp, the stamp of the honorary court, the magistrate court, and the sign of the magistrate. Now, this particular affidavit was very, very useful in future because actually after this, after his coming back, after Lala Shankarlal's coming back from Japan, Netaji was in prison. And somehow the British intelligence, they knew that Lala Shankarlal had gone to Japan, the instruction of uh, Netaji. So they arrested, Lala Shankarlal was arrested and there was a case against him at the Bombay court. What was the allegation? The charges were his secret voyage, Lala Shankarlal's secret voyage to Japan, with some conspiracy plotted by Subhash Chandra Bose. Now, when the case was registered in a Bombay court and came up for hearing, this alibi was placed in the court, where the lawyer who was defending Lala Shankarlal, he said that this particular alibi, it proves that at that particular time, Lala Shankarlal was in Calcutta and his question of going to Japan does not arrive. And that is why when this alibi was placed, the government pleader had no other alternative but to withdraw the case. And Lala Shankarlal was free of all charges. So, you see, the brain of the administrator Subhash Chandra Bose, his foresight, he could foresee that British intelligence will somehow come to know. And on the charges of his secret visit to Japan for a conspiracy uh, planned by Subhash Chandra Bose, he made this particular arrangements. Because at that time, that particular time, when Shakarlal returned, Subhash Chandra was imprisoned at President's jail. Dijendranath, when he narrated to Subhash Chandra Bose, right in the jail, in one of their uh, interviews, normal interviews, as a nephew is going to meet the uncle, it's a normal interview. It also narrated Subhash Chandra Bose that Japan government has fully agreed to give him all the support against his fight against the British Empire. So right in 1940, he got the assurance from the Japanese government about their support in the ensuing war. People who have the idea that the actual Japanese support came during 1942-43 must know that the Japanese support came in the year 1940. And as Subhash Chandra Bose had taken the help of the leaders of the northwest frontier provinces, and already when Rajbari Bose was there, his plan was to go to Russia or to go to Germany. If not, he is given asylum in Russia. And from there, through Russia and through the path of Afghanistan, he will lead the army to India. And at the same time, Rajbihari Bose will lead the army in the Southeast Asia and come from the Burma border.
Burma border.
There will be a double attack.
Yes.
This was the original plan. And that is why he shifted his attention after making a contact with Japan. He shifted his attention to the Northwest Frontier Agency or Kabul, Afghanistan, Kabul. Right? So that is the reason, main reason. Now, of course, when the things did not go according to the plans, and when Hitler
Attacked
attacked
Russia.
Russia, plan was jeopardized, then the submarine journey started. And actually, this 1940 meeting with Mr. Ohasi, sending Lala Shankar Lal to Japan, had created a base about the Japanese support. So when the name of Subhash Chandra Bose was announced after Mohan Singh was arrested by the Japanese forces, it was unanimously accepted by the Japanese government and by Rajbihari Bose. And he sailed under the sea towards Japan on a 3.5 months of tedious submarine journey from Kiev to Sumatra.
One of the most dangerous
One of the
submarine
most dangerous voyages, and that too during the war.
war
And he passed the enemy territory all along.
all along.
All along, he passed the enemy territory. That was Africa,
Even the
India,
Indian Ocean, yes.
Southeast Indian Ocean. That was all enemy territory. One of the most dangerous and tedious journeys. Anyway, that uh, the historians will decide, and if they want to have want to document the history of Indian independent movement, definitely this will come. But to liberate his motherland, he had made the first step of convincing the Japanese government.
Japanese.
Now Subhash Chandra Bose, when he was imprisoned on the 3rd of July 1940, under the Defense of India rules, what were the charges against India, Subhash Bose? Not very serious. One charge was of a provocative or sedition writing against the British in the Forward Bloc newspaper. And another one was a lecture delivered by Netaji, a speech delivered by Netaji, which British said it was a provocative lecture against the British Empire. So there were two cases going on, right? There were two cases going on, one at Alipur Court, another one at Bankshal Court. And time to time, he had to appear in that court from the prison. He was taken. Now, British, as they had stamped Netaji, the enemy number one, and did not want to release him till the war was over, particularly the members of the forward bloc at that time and the Bengal volunteers, they were kept under strict vigilance. And as I said, his family members, like his elder brother Sarat Chandra Bose and his nephews, namely Ganesh Bose or Dhirendranath Bose, Dijendranath Bose and Aurobindo Bose, were under strict surveillance. Now, Subhash could guess that British Empire was thinking, what was British Empire thinking about him? So he made another plan. His very good associate, Sardar Shardul Singh, was instructed by Netaji to go to the Viceroy with a letter. He also sent a letter to the Viceroy from prison to the Viceroy of India, Lord Linlithgow. Instructed Sardar Shardul Singh to go with a proposal that his political party, Forward Bloc, was willing to join with the British fully during the war and help and cooperate. And Lord Linlithgow, as a shrewd British diplomat, hearing this, he did not make much comment, but he sent Sardar Shardul Singh to the then the Governor General of Punjab, another very shrewd man, Sir Henry Craik. This very Henry Craik, people know, he was also the Governor General of Bengal at one time, and later he was appointed as the Home Member in the central government at Delhi. Now, Sir Henry Craik just did not believe what Shardul Singh was saying, or he was showing the letter or undertaking by Subhash Chandra, appeal by Subhash Chandra Bose, or the proposal made by Subhash Chandra Bose. He told Sardar Shardul Singh, I'm quoting what Henry Craik said. He, that is Subhash Chandra Bose, is the only man in India whom we are afraid of. And we know him to be the only Indian who can fight the British with ability. This was the idea of the British administration and the British intelligence about Subhash Chandra Bose. And that is why we have no doubt, or the matter is very clear, why Subhash Chandra Bose was termed as the enemy number one of the British Empire. So, after a long discussion with Sardar Shardul Singh, Sir Henry Craik told Shardul Singh to meet and talk to a member of the Viceroy cabinet, Sir Ramaswamy Mudaliar, who was at that time in Simla. Accordingly, when Sardar Shardul Singh reached Simla to meet Mudaliar, he came to know from a very secret source that the Deputy Director of the Central Intelligence of British Empire, Evan Jenkins, a very known man, and his assistant, Mr. Ois, had been giving the joint responsibility to be in Simla and keep an eye on Sardar Shardul Singh
Oh,
to find out the actual motive of his visiting Simla.
my goodness.
So you see how the British intelligence was planning, and they were, trying to trap out everybody who were close to, including Sardar Shardul Singh. Now, when this above news reached Subhash Chandra Bose in the prison and presidency jail. It was relayed by Dijendra Nath, of course. During the routine interview, Subhash Chandra could very well understand that the British will not be releasing him so easily from his prison. He had no other alternative and he took the ultimate step. He announced his hunger strike till death and threatened the British that he will continue his hunger strike till the British release him from prison. In an ultimatum letter, he warned the British administration that they do not have any moral right or legal right to imprison him. Also, he has taken, because of this, he has undertaken this fast unto death decision. And if the British do not release him from the British prison, he said, my dead body will go out of presidency jail. This, as you had told earlier, this particular letter of ultimatum, he called his last wish or last will. This was his will, the only will which Subhash Chandra Bose had declared officially that this is my will, that until and unless I am released from the prison, my dead body will go out. I will not take any food. Now, the British at first did not pay much heed to this sort of ultimatum. Subhash Chandra Bose started his hunger strike in the presidency jail from 29th November 1940. 29th November 1940 started his fasting as per his previous announcements. Now, after about a week, when his health started deteriorating, which created some wrinkles on the forehead of the administration. After 10 days of his hunger strike, at the instruction of the central government, Delhi, or the Viceroy, Sir John Hobart, the Governor General of Bengal, agreed to release Subhash on parole. His release was ordered, it was unconditional release, but it was ordered under the Government of India Defence Act with a condition that he will be imprisoned at his 38/2 Elgin Road residence under 24 hours of strict vigilance. Number one. Number two, he will be imprisoned once again and brought back to the British jail once his health improves. And number three was that the two court cases against Subhash Chandra Bose, one registered at Alipur Court and the other registered at Bankshal Court, will not be withdrawn. And if the British administration desires, he has to give his physical presence to the court. So with these three conditions, Subhash Chandra Bose was released from the prison. And that day was probably, let me check. That day was probably November, I believe. Some date in November, he took the decision in November itself. I exactly don't remember the date, 38/2 Elgin Road residence, he was brought by the British administration, and he was carried in an ambulance there, and he was carried to the extreme corner room in the first floor, facing Elgin Road. And his niece, Ila Bose, was given the charge to look after her uncle.
Vishwamashai,
Yes.
here I would to interrupt you, that the jailer at that time, he was an Irish person,
Yeah.
and he had a very big sympathy for Subhash Chandra Bose. And when he announced that hunger strike, he came and said that, do you think that if you will die, it will impact British or something like that? It is a very idiotic decision is taken by you, I think.
Mhm.
And Netaji told him that it won't be easy for you to release a dead body of a idiot from your
Yeah.
jail by the
Yeah.
British.
Everybody. Yeah. And he knew one thing, that even if he died, he had to take the ultimate decision. And he knew that even if he dies, there will be an uproar in the
Uproar,
country.
exactly.
There will be an uproar in the country. The mass will rise because, while in jail, you see how he had conducted that Holwell
Exactly.
monument movement,
And
satyagraha, everything.
even later also, there was a, I don't know actually the author, the source, but I read it in some book that in Southeast Asia during the very last phase of the war, when it was being discussed that what will happen next, who will surrender first, the INA or Subhash Chandra, then J.K. Bhosle said to him that if the INA will surrender, obviously the people will know the story by you, story for you only.
Yeah,
You are the face of INA,
yeah.
and the nation will be just like a volcano.
Hmm.
And then we all will need a matchstick to light the spark.
Light the
And no
fire.
one of us has the ability to be the matchsticks. It is only you who can be the matchsticks. So let the INA surrender first, and automatically then the surrender of you will take place.
Okay, I've taken quite some time. I'll just take another 10 minutes of time and I'll finish up here.
Sure.
Just at the brink of the particular arrangements which had been done. So, niece Ila took the charge of his uncle Ranga Kakababu in the room itself. Okay, the in future act leaves, the ultimate planning and implementation of the Great Escape started from that very room of 38/2 Elgin Road. Now, in the history of the Great Escape by Subhash Chandra Bose, his elder brother Sarat Chandra Bose played an important role. Right from 1937, the Bose brothers had consulted each other about the ongoing process in the Indian political scenario and what will be the future actions on processes to be taken in future about the role of Subhash Chandra in particular was time and again discussed with his elder brother Sarat Chandra. Now, in all this discussion, Sarat Chandra not only helped his younger brother morally, but we see that he also knew about the route of the escape. He also gave his valuable advice on how they can arrange for the final assault on the British Empire to attain Purna Swaraj or complete independence. As a result of these important discussions, Sarat Chandra is sent two of his most reliable comrades, Sri Sudhir Ranjan Bokshi, the younger brother of Shatranjan Bokshi of Bengal Volunteers, and Sri Shanti Ganguly, these two persons, to meet the leaders, particularly the forward bloc leaders, all India forward bloc leaders of Northwest Frontier. They undertook the journey, had a talk, and I believe the resultant factor was that they gave the instruction given to them by Subhash Chandra Bose and Sarat Chandra Bose, and that resulted in the visit of Mia Akbar Shah, not once but twice, to Calcutta to formulate the plan of Great Escape. Let me tell you one thing over here, that there were three persons, as far as my knowledge goes, three persons, apart from Subhash Chandra Bose, who knew the total route from Calcutta to Kabul. And they were his brother Sarat Chandra Bose, Mia Akbar Shah, the president of the forward bloc of the Northwest Frontier, and Shatrunjan Bakshi of Bengal Volunteers. So the two organizations and political party formed by Netaji, Bengal Volunteers in 1928 and Forward Bloc was an official political party in 1939, were very much involved, along with Sarat Chandra Bose, his elder brother, in this Great Escape. The others who participated in the Great Escape just did their role as instructed. This should be very clear. It should be absolutely clear. So this was the thing. And particularly, this ensured the arrival of Mia Akbar Shah, and where he was instructed, I will come to that later on, where he was instructed to make the arrangements to contact the different embassies, like the Russian embassy, Italian embassy, and the German consulate in Kabul to help Subhash Chandra's safe journey from Kabul to Europe. So all these things were done in a very, very coordinated way, very secret way, and learning from the mistakes, the previous planning. It was also decided that very few people would know about this Great Escape. This was also instructed to Chotaranjan Bakshi. It was also instructed to Mia Akbar Shah. The more the people, more chances of leakage.
Glucose, exactly.
That he wanted to avoid. Ultimately, the leakage was there. After he had passed out from Kabul,
Yes,
the first leak came from Uttam Chand's house.
yes,
Let us not forget that. Uttam Chand's wife accidentally told the neighbor about the fact that Subhashji Bose Babu was our guest
guest.
in Kabul. Anyway, that is a different part, but still, the thing was not leaked out till Subhash Bose went out of Kabul towards Moscow, and from there he went to Berlin.
Bali.
So now we are at the brink.
Absolutely.
Now the actual planning starts. See, the planning now starts, how he went. In the meantime, we have heard about Lala Shankar Lal, then Niranjan Talib ji and other Kirti Kisan Party members. We have heard about Sardar Shardul Singh, okay, and many other episodes, slowly and slowly, and his actual contact with the Japanese administration in 1940. Now we will come about the planning of his great escape from that very first floor room of 38 by 2 Elgin Road. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, Anushka. Thank you, Adrija.
And
We start.
in the next episode, will we start from the writing a letter by Bibhabhati Bose to his eldest son?
Exactly.
Wonderful.
No, we will start that. We will start that, and why Ashoknath Bose was chosen. Now, there were many people who who were good drivers, who could drive the car very well. Why people like Dwijendranath, Aurobindo Bose, they were not included? That we will discuss slowly, and ultimately it came and focused on Ashoknath Bose. That was also rejected. And ultimately it came down to Shishir Bose. So that is because of certain pros and cons, which was being discussed, because he did not want, I believe both Sarat Chandra and Subhash Chandra did not want that an outsider of the Bose family would come and drive a car. That will raise suspicions. Okay, so routine, it will be accordingly to the routine marks going on. That's what he wanted. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to the viewers. And if they have any questions, just compile them.
Sure,
Okay.
We will do that.
Okay. I believe you have the thing in the Facebook so that I can also share. Okay, Audrija, where are you? Thank you very much.
She is here only.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for a patient listening, and thank you, viewers. This is history, what I've said.
It is one of the most interesting part of Indian history.
Indian history. Not
And
documented.
Here I would just like to mention
not documented as yet in the history books, mind you.
It was written by Narayan Sanyal in his research book that this travel of Muhammad Ziauddin through Kabul and going to Europe, it was actually Rajbihari planned to avail this route in very initial time when he was planning to leave the nation. But then, due to some pros and cons, he made the decision to leave the nation. I mean, through the voyage
in a hurried way.
In a hurried way.
And he took the advantage of Rabindranath Tagore's visit to
Japan.
Japan.
So,
and therefore he left with his passport is PN Tagore. Of Rabindranath Tagore, going to Japan to make arrangements for Gurudev.
Yes. And actually, this path followed by Muhammad Ziauddin, Narayan Sanyal wrote in a very, what I will say, very beautiful way. That first it was thought to avail this road and western border to cross the nation, and he abandoned the path. He went out through the.
Actually, but if you see, Pather Dabi by Sharat Chattopadhyay.
Yes.
That is the path, the Arakan path. He has mentioned also, and Pather Dabi's Nayok Shobosachi was written in coincidence with Rajbihari Bose.
Exactly. Many a times I got in a debate with many people. They said that it is of Subhash Chandra Bose. I said no, because within India, Netaji was absolutely a public figure.
Exactly.
There was nothing hidden, but everything was hidden in Rajbihari's part.
So it was Rajbihari Bose, and it was shown that Arakan path, Burma thing, he will escape from that.
Yes.
And that was also, in parts of that novel, the glimpses of Bagajuddin was very
Yes.
Then the Shobosachi, the hero, is trying to bring arms and ammunition from outside.
From Germany, yes, absolutely.
From Germany, and his ship is caught.
Yes.
Because of the betrayal of one of his comrades.
Comrades.
Rojo.
Brojo, yeah, Brojalal.
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 Yes.
So this is very, I mean, that is why I heard from my father that Pathet Dabi at that time was banned.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It was banned by the British, and my father, he was a student at that time, and he managed to procure a copy of Pathet Dabi to read himself at that time. Okay, so my uncle, my father's elder brother, was quite elder to my father because he was the eldest in the family. My father was the youngest. So he was very nervous. Hey, why did you bring this book at home? This, that. No, you must return the book immediately. So he said, okay, I'll read it and return it. I'll read it overnight, I'll return it. My father said. So after that, my auntie, my Jetima, he said, let me read this also. So it took about 2-3 days, and my uncle was very nervous. So on the day he was supposed to return it to one of his college friends, he made a cover with brown paper and carried it along with the books of physics and chemistry, and casually traveled by uh, a Calcutta tram to Presidency College. There,
To return the book.
he handed the book to one of his friends.
Actually, my grandmother, he copied the book.
Hmm.
She used to copy the book in the midnight, sitting in the kitchen, and he copied the book, and it was, I mean, it was in a disguise with the, I mean, the ritual books kept in the temple of the
Hmm.
home. She
That's right.
actually kept it in that room.
And
Pathet Dabi
Dharma
was
Granthas,
copied it.
along,
My
along with the
grandmother
Dharma
did it.
along with the Dharma Granthas,
Yes, along with the religious book, Pathet Dabi
religious
was
book.
kept in a
Exactly.
disguise.
That is also a religious book to somebody.
Absolutely,
What
absolutely.
you have to know is Pathet Dabi is also a very religious book to us,
Yes,
Yes.
because uh, I think that was one of the boldest writings of Sharat Chandra Chattopadhyay.
absolutely.
And not only that, Sharat Chandra, by nature, he was a very quiet-natured man, and he was a very shy man. You know, a fire would come out of his writings. You never imagined. One thing he wrote about the women of Bengal at that time,
Yes,
uh, rural Bengal, and the what do you call the freedom of the women of rural Bengal at that time. And secondly, his bombshell Pathet Dabi uh, was a was a was a real great surprise to the Indian people and the people of Bengal,
true.
particularly. These we have we have had these sort of writers, singers, dramatists who had fought Gananaट्य Sangho, the
Yes,
IPTI, Indian People's Theatre Association. Like this, there are many people who were there. And we have seen the sacrifices made by these people.
few days back, Meshumoshai Odrija was asking me that can we give the translation of Pathet Dabi to few young people? Will it be a good idea? I said that who will translate the phrase পরাধীন দেশের রাজবিদ্রোহী তোমাকে শতকোটি নমস্কার? It can't be
Ah,
translated. So
ah,
translation is not a good idea for Pathet Dabi.
we'll have to think about some good translator who
Absolutely.
will be permanent, an official
It's
translator.
there. One I had found, but I think it is in Kindle version or something. I couldn't buy.
Hmm.
I found one version in Amazon.
Now, in Sharat Chandra's many novels have been translated in Bengali, in Hindi and
Hindi.
English.
But Hindi will be a better version for Pathet Dabi.
Better version,
Yes,
because you can have
you
that.
can still convert from an Indian language to another Indian language. You can
Why not?
Yes.
find some
Why not,
phrases
why
to
not do one thing?
write.
Why not do one thing? let us first try to translate Potadavi in Hindi.
True.
Then from there, we can try somebody, some
Mhm.
professional man, to translate it in what do you call
English.
English.
So
And we can.
we think today we can, stop our
Yes.
discussion here, and we will continue with the final
Later
blueprint
on,
and executing of that plan of great escape.
Mhm.
So you all stay safe, and we will let you know
Anushka,
about the.
before we end this session, on behalf of Desh, I want to wish Anushka a very happy birthday today, the
Yeah, of
co-founder
course.
of Desh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
happy birthday, Anushka.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. And here I would just like to mention that in afternoon I got a phone call from Palampur, and Kalia aunty first said me that बेटिया मैं आई एम वेरी सॉरी कि मैंने आज सुबह तुम्हें फोन नहीं किया. माँ का
Please,
फोन तो सबसे पहले आना चाहिए.
amazing.
It was just, and in the morning, I started my day with a call from Thapar uncle, the father of Captain Vijayan Thapar. He called me up in the morning, and in the Facebook wishes, I first got the wish from Colonel Lalit Rai sir, the commanding officer of 1/11 GR.
Perfect birthday.
Perfect birthday wish, and obviously the discussion about my Gurudev and his planning, this made my day actually today.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, all of
Perfect
you,
birthday.
for your constant love and blessings for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And
Thank
God bless
you.
you. God
Thank
bless
you,
you.
Mr. Moshai.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jai
Jai
Hind.
Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind. Jai Hind.